You're listening to the Fringianity Underground podcast. Fringe topics with a Christian point of view. Now here's your host, Leo Rutledge. Today's episode I titled Unity Apart from the Real Jesus. It's in an effort to really highlight the fact that many people say they believe in God, but what God do they believe in? They say that there are many roads and many paths that lead to heaven. And I'm going to really highlight and detail the fact that a lot of people, including the Pope and including, unfortunately, Billy Graham, believe that there are many roads to heaven, and that non-believers in Jesus Christ can even get into heaven. And this is a very misleading and deceptive road to take. And a lot of people don't even know it, but they're going down this very same path. So I'm going to detail this and really analyze this in this episode. So with that, let's begin the show.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey, good day.
Let me ask some questions about faith. which is a tough subject to talk about. You have called at times this battle against terrorism a crusade.
I said it once and probably shouldn't have used that word.
Do you think God is involved in this conflict?
I don't think this is a religious war. I think this is a war between evil people that are willing to kill on a mass scale, people that would like to end up with weapons of mass destruction and even kill more than they did in New York City and
But you've used
Washington.
a phrase that interests me, which is you said freedom is a gift of the Almighty.
It is.
And if you're the agent of freedom, or consider yourself so in this, does that indicate in your mind that the Almighty is on our side in some way?
Charlie, I think that you shouldn't try to read too much into what I'm saying. What I'm saying is a truth. And the truth is people yearn to be free, no matter who they are or what their religion is. Freedom is ingrained in people's souls. Freedom was not placed there by the United States. It was, my judgment, it was placed there by something greater, the Almighty.
Do we all worship the same God, Christian and Muslim?
I think we do.
Do we all worship the same God, Christian and Muslim?
I think we do.
Does
We have different routes of getting to the Almighty.
Bin Laden, does Abu Musab al-Zarqawi pray to the same God that you and I do?
I think they pray to a false God. Otherwise, they wouldn't be killing innocent lives like they have been.
Do Christians and non-Christians and Muslims go to heaven in your mind?
Yes, they do. We have different routes of getting there.
Do Christians and non-Christians and Muslims go to heaven in your mind?
Yes, they do. We have different routes of getting there.
The panel has been discussing the spirituality and the forces of God, but I also believe that there are two forces that are here with us, that we do have our God that we can depend on, but there's also a power of darkness that we do need to be aware of. And that's where the choice
Do you believe that you can choose between one or the other?
Most absolute definitely.
Yeah. Now,
choice.
Marianne Williamson says in her book, Return to Love, that we're always walking in the direction of one or the other, that all of your actions in life, either you're moving toward the darkness or you're moving toward the light.
That's right.
She calls it fear and love. There's this wonderful book called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, which is, anyway, it's a gorilla talking, but anyway, it talks about, one of the points it brings out is one of the mistakes that human beings make is believing that there is only one way to live, and that we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a
Then
human
how do we
being,
please God?
and many ways, but many paths to what you call God.
That
And
is
her path
pleasing.
might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not.
And I guess the danger that could be on that, I mean, it sounds great on the onset, but if you really look at both sides, I
There
could be a
couldn't
person.
possibly be just one way. What about Jesus? What about Jesus?
You say there isn't only one way. There is one way and only one way, and that is through Jesus.
There couldn't possibly be with a
Because you
millions of people
say
in the
there
world.
isn't.
There couldn't possibly be.
Because you say, you intellectualize it and say there isn't. If you don't believe that, you're all buying into the lie. That makes you right.
Do you think that if you are somewhere on the planet, if you're somewhere on the planet and you never hear the name of Jesus, you never hear the name of Jesus, but yet you live with a loving heart, you lived as Jesus would have had you to live, you lived for the same purpose that Jesus came to the planet to teach us all, but you are in some remote part of the earth and you never heard the name of Jesus. You cannot get to heaven, you think?
And that is covered in the scriptures, too. People have talked about that.
God knows the
Does
heart.
God care about your heart, or does God care about if you call his son Jesus?
Well, you know, Oprah, Jesus cannot come back until that gospel is preached in the four corners of this earth. So, figure it out.
Okay, I can't get into a religious argument with you.
It's not religion,
I
Oprah.
can't get into a religious argument with you, John.
Enter ye in at the strait gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father, but by me. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also, and from henceforth ye know him, and have seen him. Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Jesus saith unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father.
One world religion. The Pope is claiming that all religions worship the same God. Michael Snyder reports a new video has just been released in which Pope Francis very clearly expresses his belief that all of the major religions are different paths to the same God. He says that while people from various global faiths may be, quote, seeking God or meeting God in different ways, that it is important to keep in mind that we are all children of God. This is the most recent example that shows that the Pope has completely abandoned any notion that a relationship with God is available only through Jesus Christ. As he has done throughout his papacy, he continues to lay the groundwork for the coming one world religion, and yet hardly anyone seems upset by this. But the truth is, in this video, it's very real. The following comes from the article that was put out by the Catholic News Agency. It says this, quote, the Pope's first ever video message on his monthly prayer intentions was released on Tuesday, highlighting the importance of interreligious dialogue and the beliefs different faiths hold in common, such as the figure of God and love. Quote, many think differently, feel differently, seeking God or meeting God in different ways. In this crowd, in this range of religions, there is only one certainty that we have for all. We are all children of God. Pope Francis said in his message that was released on January 6th, the Feast of the Epiphany. Snyder concludes, nearly 2,000 years ago, the Apostle John warned us that one world religion was coming, and now we can see that it is coming to fruition.
Now, that sounds alarming, and it sounds like the end of the world. It sounds like the last few transmissions of a radio station before everything completely goes wrong and everything. But there is hope. These people are all forgetting the hope. Is Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father in heaven. You can't get to heaven without Jesus. You can't get to God the Father without Jesus, the Son